Hi everybody, this is Boogess Reviews, and today I'm back with my weekly Walking Dead reviews. So today's weekly Walking Dead review will be on the Walking Dead Allies 3-pack. So before we take a look at Rick and Jesus, let's take a look at Daryl. Now Daryl is based on the previous body mold, except this one does have some differences to it, and he does have some accessories. He comes with his pistol, which we've seen this used before many times with other Walking Dead figures. It's just cast in that dark gunmetal color. And this can fit in his right hand very well. And he comes with this very tiny knife, which as you can see it is warped. And he can't hold it. None of the figures have been able to hold it. Just very loosely. So if McFarlane makes any more Daryl figures, I wish we could get a bigger knife that he can actually hold. But you can put this in the sheath, like so. There. And I will show the differences here between the previous Daryl figure. Mainly it's just the collars and the pants have been changed a little bit. As you can see, his jacket is done in a light gray color with a black wash over it, whereas this one was a dark brown. And he's supposed to have like a plaid looking shirt on with blue and some black squares on it. And it doesn't look too bad. It could have been done just a little bit better. Especially this one up here. This one is just really black and they didn't even paint the buttons on his shirt on. But they did paint the buttons on his vest on. But yeah, that could have been done a little bit better. And looking at the head sculpts, I'm really not a fan of this one. I think this one looks more like Norman Reedus. And I just really don't think this one does. I think they should have given him some different hair because at this point in the show his hair was longer. This is from the episode The Next World. But yeah, the head sculpt on this one does not look very much like Norman Reedus at all. They could have done better with that. Now the major difference here comes with some texturing on his pants. These were smooth and the texturing was just painted on to make it look that way. But this one actually has the texturing to it. It has that light blue wash over it that brings out a lot of the details. And that looks really good. I think these look better than this because, like I said, this one just had the painted detail and this one actually has sculpted detail on it. However, they did not paint the holes in the knees on his pants on. And they did that on this previous version. And the boots are pretty much the same. They're just painted a dark brown instead of a light brown. And he still just has a swivel instead of a rocker, or at least ball-jointed ankles. That way he can stand up. This figure does not want to stand up at all because, as you can see, his feet angle out because they're just on swivels, because they're not ball-jointed or have an ankle rocker. So this Daryl is pretty much the same. It just has some minor differences to it. So now we'll go over this Daryl's articulation. So he has a ball-jointed head that can't look back that far. He can look down all the way. He can move his head side to side. He has ball-jointed shoulders that can move out that far. He has single-jointed elbows that swivel side to side. He has a swivel at the wrist. Well, he has a swivel at the forearm that can move side to side, and then a swivel at the wrist that can move up and down and side to side as well. He has a ball-jointed diaphragm that can't move back at all and can barely move forward, but it can move side to side. He has those double swivel hips that can do a complete split. And let's get them back to normal here. He can kick forward all the way, and he can kick back all the way. He has a single jointed knee that swivels side to side, and he has a swivel at the ankle that can move side to side and up and down just slightly. So again, I really wish that McFarlane would have improved these instead of just leaving them the same. But this is more or less a repaint, so I guess I shouldn't have expected that. So next we'll take a look at Rick and his accessories. He does come with this machine gun, and we've also seen this used previously, but this one has a little bit of different paint to it. The handle and the ammo clip right here are done in a lighter color gray, and then they painted the rest on. And he can hold this pretty well. Just have to slide it into his hand there at an angle and get him holding it like that. So if you wanted to do that, you could. And of course, he comes with his Colt Python. And it's always sculpted and painted really nicely. And of course, this fits in his hand. This does fit in his hand a little bit better than the machine gun, though, because his finger will actually go through the trigger of the Colt. So yeah, that looks better. And this is the same rick as the Woodbury Assault rick. This one is just painted differently. But looking at these side by side, they did change the beard because this one is black and this one is gray. They did it brown as the base, and then they painted gray over top of it. And I think they were supposed to give him dark circles, but kind of looks funny. They could have painted those just a little bit better, or at least not that brownish color. And the hair's sculpted really good. And this one is painted a lot better than the Woodbury Assault Rick. As you can see, he has a lot of sculpted detail, but it's not painted on the greatest. And they did fix that with this one. The hair on this one does look a lot better. And the shirt also looks really good. It's done in a dark blue color, and they did a wash of that like grayish white color to bring out all the details and the wrinkles on it. And it looks pretty good. But still, this looks pretty good, and they even got his shirt, the white shirt underneath it, painted on pretty good. This one was kind of sloppy, but this came out pretty clean. And the elbow here. Now, here's my major issue with this. The elbow joint did pop out as soon as I took it out of the package. So I will need to put that back in there. It stays sometimes, but when you're moving it around, it just comes out. So I don't know if that's something that boiling in some hot water would fix or not, since every time I move it, it just comes out of place on its own. And he has the buckle painted on his belt. And the belts are the same here. Actually, the knife looks better because they actually painted the blade on it. And they didn't on the previous version. But yeah, this is painted pretty nice. They also painted on some navy blue on his jeans, because it's a really, really dark blue, kind of like black collar. And then they painted the light over top of it. And then for his boots, they're done in brown, and then they painted the light brown over top of it. So this one is just a repaint. There's no new texturing like on Daryl. Oh, and one more thing I need to point out was they didn't paint his wedding ring on. And I'm pretty sure they did on this one. Yeah, they painted that on this one. That's a pretty simple fix, but it would have been nice if they would have painted that on there. They also painted on his watch. So now let's go ahead and go over his articulation. He has a ball-jointed head that can't look back at all because of his hair. He can look down all the way. He can move his head side to side. He has ball-jointed shoulders that can move out that far. He has a single-jointed elbow that barely swivels side to side because of the way the sleeves are made. He has a swivel at the forearm that moves side to side. He has swivel at the wrist that can move up and down and side to side. He has a slight swivel at the waist. He has those double swivel hips, and he can do a complete split. He can kick forward slightly, and he can kick back all the way. It's kind of weird that he can kick back more than he can forward. He has a single-jointed knee that can bend in that far. It also swivels side to side. And he has ball-jointed ankles that can move down slightly, can't really move up, and it can move side to side. But he can stand up pretty well on his own, but it also does help that he has ball-jointed ankles. That way it can stabilize him, unlike Daryl. So now we will take a look at Jesus. And he comes with the most accessories. So I'll show that off now. He comes with alternate hands. These are the relaxed hands. And I'm not a fan of taking these off, because when I take it off, you'll see that peg is very, very tiny. And it's very fragile. It just feels very flimsy. So, he does have, hold on here. He has 2 weapon-holding hands, both of which have trigger fingers. And I'm just going to switch the one out here since these are very thin and fragile. Let's go ahead and put that on there. And putting these on there. They do stick out that far, and I'm not sure why. So the trigger fingers do not go in all the way. that's another reason why I prefer just to leave these ones, because they don't go on all the way and they're very thin. So they could break if you put too much pressure on them. So I prefer just to leave them like this. And he comes with a pistol, which we have also seen before. It is a smaller one, though, because his hands are smaller than Daryl's. But I put it in this relaxed hand. Now, you kind of just have to put it in at an angle here, and then twist it. And it stays in pretty well. It doesn't look exactly right, but it's better than switching the hands out and possibly breaking that flimsy peg there. So, this is an all-new Sculpt. And taking a look at it, I don't think they did a great job on the likeness of Tom Paine here. I don't think it looks very much like him as Jesus. I get that's what they were going for, but it doesn't look very much like him. And they cast the head and the hair in this brown color, and then they painted the beanie over top of it, or the toboggan. They painted it blue. But his hair is sculpted pretty nicely. It's cast in that dark brown color and has the light brown painted over top of it. And they did use the printing tech for his eyebrows, but they didn't for the rest of the figure, and I think they would have benefited from doing it. Yeah, I think they should have printed on all the features instead of just doing the eyebrows. But then they painted the beard on here, and it's two different colors. This is like a reddish brown, and then it's dark and light brown down here. So it would have been nice if they would have painted it a little bit better so it would match. And his coat here is cast in dark brown, and it has that light brown painted over top of it, where it brings out all of the details. And it looks pretty good, and it's pretty soft, so it doesn't hinder his articulation. Moving his legs back, it hinders it just slightly, but it is pretty soft, so you can get a pretty good range of motion from it there. And the zipper on his vest here, they painted it really good. And it has some good sculpt detail to it. And he has two belts here connecting his knife and sheath. But it is all one piece, and it's just rubber. I really wish they would have made it separate pieces, that way it could be removed. But it's just rubber. They did paint a little bit of blue over top of it. But underneath they didn't paint anything on, they just left it plain. His pants are cast in brown, and then they painted the black over top of it. However, these straps didn't get painted very well. You can see where a lot of the paint's missing there. And they didn't do as much of a black wash towards the top of his pants as they did down by his boots. And it does bring out the details pretty nicely, but it's kind of weird they kind of focused it down here instead of all over. And here are his boots. And another odd thing is this is a separate piece. The tongue of his boot is a separate piece, because as you can see, the boot moves by itself without this. The tongue doesn't move with it. It's kind of odd that they did that. They didn't make it all one piece. But they cast it in dark brown, and then they did a wash of light brown over top of it. And they also painted laces on pretty good. But yeah, other than that, it looks pretty nice. Now, he has a ball-jointed head that can look up all the way. I figured with his hair it would be hindered, and the collar on his vest. But no, he can look up all the way. He can look down just slightly. He can move his head side to side. He has ball-jointed shoulders that can't move out very far. He has single-jointed elbow that just about bends in all the way. It swivels side to side. He has swiveled wrist that can move side to side and up and down. He has double swivel hips that can do a complete split. He can kick forward just slightly, not quite all the way. And he can kick back all the way. He can kick back just a little bit further if you pull the jacket back. He has single-jointed knee that swivels side to side. And he has swivel boots that swivel side to side. So, overall, I feel like they could have done just a little bit better because the likeness isn't great. And I think it's the facial shape, too. I think the facial shape just isn't right, either. So, I do have a couple issues with it. So now, for size comparisons, I'm going to put them all next to each other. Here, Jesus and Daryl are next to Rick. Now, let's see if Rick's going to stand there. So, overall, I do like this pack, but I do have my issues with it. I mean, Daryl and Rick are straight up repaints. Daryl does have a retooled lower half, though, from the previous version, which is good, because it definitely brings out that sculpt a lot. And Jesus really doesn't look like Tom Paine. So I do like this pack, but I do also have my issues with it. So that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.